everyone, welcome to this tutorial. My name is Mehdi from 3D Redbox channel, and today we are going to talk about how to export from Substance Painter and import the resources into Unreal Engine 5. And for first step, we will find out how to create custom export template in Substance Painter for our usage in Unreal Engine 5. And in Unreal, we will learn how to create a simple master material for using Substance Painter result inside Unreal Engine. And we can control many things here, for example, like color tint, we can control that, we can control the roughness and emissive and etc. So let's do that. But before jumping to the video, let me introduce the brand new course that we release for Substance Painter. Learning Substance Painter is easier than ever. Hey all Substance lovers, texture seekers, and awesome future artists. Welcome to Ultimate Course for learning Substance Painter from zero to hero. Ready to learn how to texture with different projects? Substance Master released a brand new course for those who want to learn to texture with Substance Painter. In this course, we cover from preparing the model to rendering different projects, different challenges. If you want to level up your skill in texturing, come and check the Substance Master Ultimate course for learning Substance Painter. Okay, let's start the process. We are done in texturing phase and now we want to export the texture from Substance Painter. So for this purpose, we need to go to the file, export texture, and in this window, we can use many output template here, or we can create for ourselves. And as you can see, we have Unreal Engine 4 pack default template inside Painter. But there is an issue with that. And I'm going to explain you what is the issue and how we can solve that. So let's export the texture with this template and we are going to discuss about that. Okay, now the textures are exported and we can click on Open Output Directory. So we have the window in Explorer and now we can see the textures are exported. But there is an issue with that and it's with the naming. Okay, so in this template, we have the mesh name at the beginning of the texture name. And after that, we have the texture set name and the name of the each channel is super long. For example, we have occlusion, roughness, metallic, and it's not good. So we need to modify that. I need T underline at the first, just the texture set name and a small name for each channel. So let's do that. For this purpose, we need to go Output Template tab in Export Texture window. And now we can select the Unreal Engine 4 pack and press on Duplicate. Okay, so we just duplicate the Unreal Engine 4 pack template and let's rename that. So I press F2 to rename it to a UE5 template. Okay, and now in this window, we can create export texture or we can modify that. So let's modify it. I'm going to remove the mesh name at the first part of the texture name. So we need T underline. Okay, let's select that T underline. And after that, we need the name of the texture set and the name of the channel. So for the base color, we can remove all the base color character and just put D as an albedo or diffuse, or we can rename it with any character that we want. So everything is fine here right now. And the most important thing here is you need to change the bit depth of the base color or albedo texture to 8 bits, not 16 or anything else. Okay, let's modify the second channel. I'm going to remove the mesh name from the beginning of the texture name, so T underline. And for the occlusion, roughness, and metallic, let's replace it with ORM, and it should be 8-bit again. And you can change the format type to JPEG if you don't plan to add anything to alpha channel. Okay, so let's modify the normal too. I'm going to remove the normal name and put the N as a normal. And for the beginning of the texture, let's just put the T as a texture, and that's it. So what happens if I want to have emissive map for Unreal Engine? If your emissive channel has different color in that and you need to paint color inside the Substance Painter, you need to keep the emissive as a different and separate output like this here. Okay, and it should have RGB channel because we have color inside the emissive output. But in this project and most of the work, I don't need color inside Emissive, and I need to change the color inside the Unreal Engine. So the simple way is to keep the Emissive channel inside Substance Painter black and white, and in the output you can add the emissive channel to alpha channel of ORM. So let's remove the emissive. Okay, I'm going to remove the output. Let's create RGBA. Each channel can get different content from output. Okay, and I'm going to copy all the naming function from ORM here and just put E as an emissive at the end of the ORM. Okay, so we have a different output ORME, and we have occlusion, roughness, metallic, and emissive in single texture. Okay, so let's remove this, and now we have PNG because we have alpha channel, and it should be on 8B as a bit depth range. And now for each channel we should assign the maps from this list. Okay, so for the first channel R, we need to assign mix AO from convert maps as a gray channel. For the G, we need to assign the roughness as a gray channel, and the metallic in a B as a gray channel, and emissive in A as a gray channel. Okay, so everything is fine, and now I'm going to export with UE5 template and compare the result. Okay, so let's go back to the setting, change the output to UE5 template. In the same path, I'm going to export. Okay, now it's time to compare between two templates that we use. For the first one, we have 4 different textures, and the name is too long. And for using inside Unreal Engine, we need to rename it to something like more logical. Okay, but in second template that we create and modified from the base Unreal Engine 4 template inside Substance Painter, as you can see, we have the T underline, which is a reference to texture inside content browser in Unreal Engine, and the name of the texture set, and after that we have the channel name. Okay, N as a normal, D as albedo or base color, and ORME as occlusion, roughness, metallic, and emissive. So one texture is reduced here with this template. The name is much better, and now it's time to import all the resources that we create inside Unreal Engine 5 and create the master material for using these resources. Okay, now we are in Unreal Engine 5, and I just import the model. This is the model that I have, okay, and I import it to the level and create a simple lighting system like this. And now we want to create a material and import the texture and use it on this model and learn how to create master material for ourselves. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to the texture folder and let's import all the texture here, okay. And for textures, we have a simple rule, okay. Anything inside Unreal Engine except the color or base color texture, we need to go to the setting of the texture and turn off the sRGB and convert it to linear color texture. Okay, so for the normal, the Unreal Engine did that for us, so we don't need to do anything. But for ORM or something like that, we need to go in the setting and turn off RGB option. So let's go back to the folder material, and I'm going to create a new material here. Okay, let's call it MM as a master material and underline substance, and just double click on that, open the material editor here. Okay, so this is the material that we want to develop. And for the first step, we need to import all the texture into the material editor. Okay, so we have the base color. So RGB channel should go to the base color. And for the normal, we need to give it to the normal. And in ORME, we have ambient occlusion in a red channel, roughness in G. Okay, and in the B channel or blue channel, we have the metallic data. And in alpha channel, we have the emissive data. But right now, I don't want to add emissive, so just basically we want to see the result of this material on the model. So let's save it, go back to the showcase level, go to the material, and for using material inside Unreal Engine, we need to create a material instance of the master material because we want to add parameter to this master material and we want to change it in the future. So I'm going to call it MI as a M material, I as an instance, so material instance, mace. Okay, and go to the static mesh editor here and just apply the material instance into a static mesh editor. Okay, so let's save it, go back to the showcase, and as you can see, we have a great result here without any extra step. But I want to create some parameter here to control the normal intensity or maybe the roughness, contrast, and brightness and intensity. And in the color, we want to have access to the saturation option, color tint, brightness, and contrast to control the final result inside Unreal Engine. So let's do that. But before jumping to add parameters to master material, we need to know why we should add parameter to our master material. If we have just single asset inside Unreal Engine, we can stick to the master material like this and it's totally fine. But if we have a lot of assets and we want to import all of them and create material for that, we need to create a sample, a master material, and duplicate it in a way that we can change the parameter. For example, the first parameter that we want to define is the texture input. So we have different asset and different base color or albedo channel. So in the material of this object, if I open the material instance, okay, we don't have any option that we can change the base color or the normal. So we are going to define these parameters for master material and use it in material instance, right? Let's go to the material itself. And for the first step, I'm going to right click on the texture sample for base color and convert it to parameter. And now I can change the name of the texture sample, for example, albedo, okay? And let's apply and save it. Let's go back to the material instance. And now we have the input for base color. It means when we have different assets with different base color input for each of them, we can use the master material and create instance of that and apply it to the asset and just change the albedo texture input. Okay, so I'm going to convert all these input to parameter. For this, let's call it normal. And this is ORME. And I'm going to save it. And right now we have 3 texture input, right? But we need to organize that because when we have different parameter, we need to sort it by priority and the group. So the second step is select all the textures and go here in the material expression. Just give a name for the group, for example, texture input, and put the sort priority to 1 and just save it. And as you can see, now I have texture input group under the parameter groups, and I have albedo as a first option, normal as a second, and ORME as a third. But if I want to change the order, I can go here and change the priority of the normal, just save it, and as you can see, the priority is changed. So this is the way that we create texture input for our material. And for the last step, we need to select all the texture sample and change the sampler source from texture asset to shade wrap. And that's it. Okay, so let's apply it and save it, and it's done. Okay, now let's create the parameter for control the input of the material. For example, I'm going to create the normal intensity parameter here to control the intensity of the normal. So I grab the normal node and bring it down. Okay, and let's press tab, or we can just right click on the empty space in material editor and type flatten normal. Okay, this is the node that we are going to use to control the normal intensity, and give the RGB to normal. Okay, we need to right click on the empty space and type constant. Okay, and give the default value 1, and we need to convert this constant to parameter that we can control it inside the material instance. So right click on that and convert it to parameter. And for the shortcut, we can hold the S key on the keyboard and just click on the empty space. So we can create directly one constant as a parameter. Okay, so let's go back here, change the name, normal intensity, and for the flatten normal, we need to invert the data that we have here. So we need to load 1 minus and give it to flatness. Okay, so this is the way that we create normal intensity controller inside the material editor in a simple way. Okay, we have different way to control this parameter, but this is the simplest way. Okay, let's select all the nodes and press C on the keyboard to create a comment window and type the normal. And for avoiding this kind of mess, we can use the name route option inside the material editor. So let's search about the name and we can call this portal normal. Okay, come here, right click, and in the name routes, we can use the normal and put it here. It's just like the Wi-Fi or wireless connection. So we create the nodes here, give the data to the normal, and we can use the normal data here and avoid the noodle and messy option here like this. Okay, now it's time to focus on the albedo and create the parameter that we want for the base color channel. Okay, so I'm going to create the brightness, contrast, saturation, and albedo tint. So for the albedo tint, we can use the multiply node. You can right click and type the multiply and select the multiply, or just press M on the keyboard and click on the empty space to create the multiply node. So I'm going to add the multiply here, give the RGB to the A, and for the B channel or B input, we need to add a color as an albedo tint, right? So I'm going to hold V on the keyboard and click on the empty space to create a color as a parameter. So I'm going to rename it to albedo tint and change the color to white, pure white, and give the RGB to the B. And now we have the albedo tint here. Okay, so let's bring them up here and create a name rewrote, and let's put the color name here like this. Come back here and load the color and use it here. Okay, that's it. And for the brightness and the contrast and saturation, this is the follow that we need to know. So first option, we need to create the brightness controller. Okay, so I'm going to create a multiply here and give the RGB to A input, hold S, okay, and change the name albedo brightness, or we can just type brightness, give the default value 1 and give it to the B. And for the contrast, we can load the power node here, give the output of the multiply to the base, and again hold S and type contrast. Okay, the default value should be 1 and give it to the power node. And for the saturation, we have a node which is desaturation. Okay, give the output of the power to desaturation, hold S, and again let's call it saturation, give the default value 1. And as you can see, we have saturation parameter, and the node that we are going to use is desaturation. So they are inverted, and we need to invert the parameter that we have. So again, we are going to use 1 minus here, okay, and that's it. So, and after all these steps, we just add the desaturation's output to the multiply for the albedo tint, and the color is connected to the base color. But it's super messy here. We have 3 different constant value, which is a single channel value, right? So we can use something else instead of 3 different or separated value. This is the way that we can use. It's okay, nothing is wrong, but I prefer to combine all these 3 to the one parameter. But how we can do that? The second option that we have here is to press V on the keyboard and again use a color parameter here. I'm going to call it color control, and in the node details we have parameter customization, the channel name, and the default value. Okay, so I can use the red channel as a brightness, G channel as a contrast, and B channel as a saturation, right? So let's type brightness here. As you can see, we have the brightness value here, and the default value of the brightness should be 1. So I'm going to put the brightness to the B of the multiply, okay, and remove the brightness constant. And for the contrast, let's come back to the color control and type contrast here, change the default value to 1 and put it here, okay, and remove the contrast. And again, go to the color control and just type saturation and put the value to 1 minus here and remove remove the saturation. So in this way, I combine 3 different parameters into single node, which is more optimized for the Unreal Engine. And for the A channel, we still can use that, but there is nothing to use for A, so we can put an A, okay, and that's it. So we have the color control here, and that's fine. Okay, what about the metallic, ambient occlusion, and the roughness? I just need to put the brightness and contrast for the roughness, and for ambient occlusion, we don't need to take any extra option. We can just multiply it to the base color as more depth step to the color, but nothing special in ambient occlusion channel here. Okay, so let's put the controller for the roughness and just create name reroute for each channel here. Okay, now we create for each channel of ORME texture to the name reroute, and I plug AO to ambient occlusion, metallic to the metallic, and for the roughness, because I want to create roughness control with the brightness and contrast controller, I use the roughness reroute from the texture in this area and put it on multiply and power, exactly the same logic that we have inside the color section. And at the end, I create another reroute node called roughness output. Okay, right now I came here and roughness output should be plugged into the roughness. And now it's time to work on the emissive color. And for the emissive color, we should do it again as a roughness control. So I'm going to load the emissive here. At the first node, I'm going to create emissive tint or emissive color. So we can create a multiply, put the emissive to channel A or input A, and press V on the keyboard and create a color parameter and call it emissive color. Okay, and the color should be black because by default we want to have the off version of the emissive. So let's put it on the B channel, and the second multiply is for the intensity. So let's just press S on the keyboard, and I'm going to call it emissive intensity and put the value to 1 as a default. So let's put the intensity to the B, and now it's time to create another name reroute and call it emissive. Okay, right now in the emissive color, we need to plug in the emissive output like this one, and everything should be work perfect. So this is the emissive section, and master material is ready to use. Now it's time to save and go back to the material instance that we create. And as you can see, the parameter is not in the group, so we need to regroup everything and sort the priority as we showed you before. So I'm going to do that, and after this step, we are going to see what is the result that we have inside the Unreal. Okay, right now we have a small master material that we can use for Substance Painter result inside Unreal Engine. And as you can see, we have albedo tint. That it means we can create different color tint on the surface like this. And we have color control. It means we can increase the brightness of the base color like this one, or we can increase the contrast of the base color like this. For example, we can increase the contrast inside the material for the texture. It's totally different compared to the contrast that we have in the post-process volume inside the Unreal. And we can decrease or increase the saturation for the base color. So we have the roughness control. It means we can increase or decrease the roughness directly inside the Unreal Engine with the brightness and the contrast, okay, as you can see on the viewport. And we can decrease or increase the normal intensity of the texture that we have inside the material. And for the emissive color, okay, let's put it on the red, for example. We can increase the emissive intensity, and we have the emissive inside the material. Okay, that's fine. And I think it's enough for this video. If you like the content and if you learned anything new, please hit the like button, share your mind inside the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe our channel. And at the end, be creative, be safe, bye.